You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Good afternoon. My name is George Haggerty. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York Energy Finance Development Corporation for Thursday, August 15th, 2024. I'd like to note for the record that I will begin today's meeting as the acting chair. Further, I would like to note that this meeting is being webcast and that we welcome public comment on the items on our agenda. I will also note for the record that the public was given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments to esd@esd.ny.gov by noon yesterday, and that no comments were received and no members of the public are here today to provide comments. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda. If so, I would ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We'll be then sure that you may recuse yourselves from any discussion or vote with regard to such item or items. Hearing none, I'd like to note that Mayoko Okubo, Empire State Development Senior Counsel Finance will present all the items on today's agenda. Mayoko, please begin by presenting our first order of business, which is the adoption of a corporate resolution approving, among other things, the certificate of incorporation, adoption of the corporation's bylaws, its election of a chair, and the appointment of its officers. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. The purpose of this meeting is to take various actions that will authorize the corporation to begin exercising its responsibilities. While the first set of materials consolidate a host of actions and accompanying documents, I will emphasize certain key features in this presentation. Some of the policies are essentially the same as those adopted by Empire State Development and its related entities, namely the whistleblower policy, investment guidelines, and the procurement guidelines. The certificate of incorporation was filed with the Department of State on Thursday, August 8, 2024. Employee Services Agreement. The Employee Services Agreement will be entered into between New York Urban Development Corporation, doing business as Empire State Development, and the corporation, in which the UDC agrees to provide management and technical support services to be rendered to the corporation by the employees of UDC. Conflict of Interest Policy. The Conflict of Interest Policy ensures that the corporation's directors, officers, and key persons act in corporation's best interest and comply with the applicable legal requirements, including but not limited to the requirements of the New York Not-for-Profit Corporations Law. Whistleblower Policy. The New York State and federal law protect the public employees and other personnel of public entities against retaliation for disclosing to a designated individual or law enforcement any wrongful conduct. This whistleblower policy sets forth ESD's policy towards reporting of a wrongful conduct and the protection of personnel who report such wrongful conduct. The purpose of this policy statement is to require ESD personnel to report misconduct, protect those who do from retaliation, create a framework for reporting and investigating claims for retaliation, and ensure that the ESD complies with all applicable laws protecting whistleblowers. Investment Guidelines. These guidelines govern the investment and reinvestment of investment funds and the sale and liquidation of investments, as well as the monitoring, maintenance, accounting, reporting, and internal control by and of the corporation with respect to such investment, sale, reinvestment, and liquidation. Procurement Guidelines. The corporation will enter into various contracts in the course of conducting its authorized purposes. The procurement guidelines ensure that consistent, fair, and competitive retention of goods and services. It should be noted that these guidelines are only required of public authorities and public benefit corporations, not local development corporations such as the New York Energy Finance Development Corporation, but they are proposed as a statement of best practices and procedures. No contract will be deemed invalid merely because these guidelines have not been followed. Officers of the corporation. Officers of the corporation being appointed are Hope Knight, President and Chief Executive Officer; Joshua Bloodworth, Executive Vice President, Legal and General Counsel; Goldie Wexel, Deputy General Counsel; Raymond Orlando, Chief Financial Officer; Matthew Bray, Treasurer; Deborah Royce, Secretary; Courtney Heath, Assistant Secretary; and George Haggerty is being elected as the corporation's chairman. We are requesting that the board approve the certificate of incorporation, adopt bylaws, approve employee services agreement and corporation conflict of interest policy, adopt whistleblower policy, ESD investment guidelines, and procurement guidelines, appoint corporate officers, elect the chairperson, and the transaction of other necessary corporate business of the corporation, and to take related actions. Thank you.
Thank you. As noted earlier, there are no comments from the public with regard to these items. Are there any questions or comments from the directors in regard to these items?
No?
If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Mayoko, would you please present the next item, a request for authorization for the corporation to adopt Empire State Development's pre-qualified list of underwriters, financial advisors, and legal counsel?
Thank you. I am requesting that the board authorize the adoption of the ESD pre-qualified list of underwriters, financial advisors, and legal counsel. Pre-qualified list of underwriters and financial advisors. The Empire State Development adopted a new pre-qualified list of underwriters and financial advisors at its February 15, 2024 meeting. The requested approval and adoption of the ESD list would make these firms available for future recommendation to the corporation's board of directors for retention as the need may arise, without need to conduct a further solicitation. Pre-qualified list of legal counsel. Empire State Development adopted a new pre-qualified list of legal counsel at its March 24th, 2022 meeting. The board of directors are not currently being asked to authorize the retention of any firm in connection with any matter. Instead, the requested approval and adoption of the ESD list would serve to make available to the corporation a selection of candidate firms that have been through a broad solicitation process. This will allow staff to select from among the candidate firms to recommend to the corporation in the future for retention in connection with particular project without the need to conduct individual solicitation in each instance. On the basis of overall ESD staff analysis and ranking of the proposals and approval of the ESD board, it is recommended that the corporation adopt the ESD board-approved pre-qualified list of underwriters and financial advisors as set forth in Schedule A to be eligible to serve as underwriters and as financial advisors as needed, and pre-qualified list of legal counsel as set forth in Schedule B to be eligible to serve as legal counsel as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, as noted earlier, there are no comments from the public with regard to this item. Are there any questions or comments from the directors in regard to this item?
No?
If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion carries. I will now ask Mayoko to present the final agenda item, which concerns the delegation of authority to enter into contracts. Mayoko?
Thank you. Currently, only the corporation's board of directors has the power to enter into any contract. The contract procurement process for the goods and services involved compliance with multiple procedures, including confirming board approval of each contract. Delegating authority to an officer of the corporation to approve certain type of projects could help expedite the contracting process. It is proposed that the directors delegate authority so that only contracts over $250,000 will require approval by the directors. The authority to enter into contract not to exceed $250,000 will be delegated to the President and Chief Executive Officer or his or her designees, who shall be one or more officers of the corporation designated by the President and the Chief Executive Officer. Thank you.
Again, there are no comments from the public with regard to this item. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item?
No?
If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, the motion carries. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Someone else so move that?
So moved. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in today's meeting. Great. Good job, folks.